One of the things that stands out to me in looking at this, it's not just that she's back on the basketball court and it's a relief, but her speed seems to be back. We saw it on that step back three on the first day of practice, but there was a play in the day two, and this play for a number of reasons is very exciting to watch.
So there's something happening with Caitlin Clark at Team USA practice that's flying completely under the radar, and what I'm about to break down will flip your entire understanding of her rookie campaign upside down.
Look, coming downhill, great pass, right, to Jackie Young down there. So dribble handoff, skirt, and just moving quick with intent, gets it to Jackie Young, who misses the layup, but fights.
Pay attention here. Before the comment section explodes, just focus on what goes down when she catches that handoff from Aliyah Boston. That acceleration, that explosion off the first step, that's not something you just develop overnight. But considering what she went through this past year.
The U16 team, I remember they always talk about the senior national team, and obviously that's every young girl's dream when you're on those teams. And you know, they talk a lot about that team, and you know, only like one or two of us was ever probably going to be able to get a call up to be on the team, or let alone be able to get a call up to come and be a part of the camp and be around the tremendous players that they have had on their teams over the course of, you know, the many years and the many gold medals that they've won. And so I think for myself, like, that's kind of what you start thinking about, is like how long I've kind of been involved in USA basketball and the journey that it's been. You know, I've been on teams, and then I've had moments where I've been cut and I haven't been on teams. So you experience all of it. And I think that also speaks to how great USA basketball is and how dominant they are. Like, there's so many amazing players that have been a part of it and have worn the 3 letters across their chest. And, you know, for me, you never take that for granted. So I'm super excited to be back here and kind of kick off this next cycle.
Let's get one thing straight right now. The whole story about Caitlin Clark's first WNBA season has been spun, repackaged, and fed to us like some inspiring journey of growth and development. All that motivational garbage. But what if the truth is way darker than anyone's willing to discuss? Because at this Team USA camp, we're seeing evidence drop that's going to make a lot of people very, very uncomfortable. Here are the facts nobody wants to face. Caitlin Clark vanished from professional basketball after a rookie year that can only be called a nightmare. Quad problems, shattered confidence, her shooting form completely breaking down. The same athlete who demolished college basketball suddenly looked human, breakable, and the professional level destroyed her for it. Now here's where things get really interesting. Check out this practice footage from day 2. Clark takes that dribble handoff, plants her foot, and just detonates toward the basket like she's got jet engines attached. That's not slow progress back to form. That's not carefully rebuilding confidence. That's peak Caitlin Clark, the version who made elite defenses look like children. The one who had analysts throwing around comparisons to basketball legends. So here's what I need to know. If she's moving like this right now, what the hell actually went down during the season? Picture this scenario. Clark walks into her first professional season carrying more hype than any rookie in league history. The weight is crushing. The expectations are completely unrealistic. She gets snubbed from the Olympic roster, which turns into this whole media circus. Then she adds muscle mass, changes her entire body, trying to survive the physical brutality of professional basketball. That's when the wheels completely come off. The speed vanishes. The burst disappears. Her shot starts looking robotic, uncomfortable, wrong. She's battling through quad issues that nobody wants to discuss honestly. And suddenly, the conversation shifts from future superstar to disappointing rookie, from once-in-a-generation talent to overrated college star who couldn't make the jump. But look at this footage one more time. Really study it. The way she changes direction, the smoothness, the swagger. That's not someone who lost their ability and slowly found it again. That's someone who always had it, but something was blocking access to it. And that opens up some really disturbing questions about what was really happening all season long. Here's the conversation nobody wants to have. Caitlin Clark wasn't going through typical rookie growing pains. She was fighting a body that wouldn't cooperate, injuries that kept getting worse, and a situation where pushing through it only made everything more complicated. But professional basketball doesn't pause. The games keep coming. The pressure never lets up. So she competed while compromised, fell apart in public, lost faith in herself in real time, and we all watched the disaster unfold while pretending it was just part of the learning process. Look at her shooting mechanics in this practice video. Smooth catch, solid foundation, timing that looks completely natural. She admitted herself that she stopped trusting her shot last season because of the injuries. Not because she forgot how to play basketball, not because professional basketball was too difficult, but because her body wouldn't allow her to be who she actually is. That's the part that should frighten everyone. The most gifted player of her generation spent an entire season operating as a shadow of herself, and we all just treated it like business as usual. Now watch this pass to Netra Hamby. That's classic Clark, the court vision. The perfect timing, the nerve to even try that threading the needle. Nobody else in that building makes that pass. Maybe a handful of players in the entire league could pull that off with that kind of confidence, and she's just casually doing it in practice like it's routine. So where was this player during the season? Where was this version when the Fever desperately needed her most? The answer is straightforward and heartbreaking. She was injured, seriously injured, the type of injury that doesn't make headlines, the kind that slowly eats away at everything that makes you special. And instead of addressing it properly, instead of being honest about how bad things were, everyone kept the circus running, because that's how the WNBA operates. That's how all professional sports work. The entertainment must continue. The television ratings matter. The marketing storylines matter. The actual well-being and future of the athlete, that comes second. Let me point out something else. This video from day one, watch how she moves, the flow, the power. Her foundation looks solid. Her footwork looks crisp. This is someone who has their body back, who isn't overcompensating, who isn't grinding through pain with every single movement. And it's incredible to witness, but it also makes you angry when you think about what got sacrificed to reach this point. Here's the truth that's going to sting. Caitlin Clark's rookie disaster might have been completely avoidable if someone, anyone, had hit the emergency brake. If the Fever had put her long-term future ahead of immediate results, if the league had protected space for their biggest marketing asset to actually heal correctly, but they didn't, and we all witnessed it happening. And now, she's at Team USA camp, looking like her old self again, and everyone's acting like this is some feel-good comeback narrative. It's not. It's proof of how spectacularly the system abandoned her. Jackie Young battles for that loose ball, finds Clark on the perimeter, and she pulls up for three, looking completely at ease. That shot never looked comfortable once last season. Not a single time. Every attempt seemed forced, awkward, like she was fighting her own body just to get the ball toward the rim with decent rotation. And we criticized her for it. The hot takes were everywhere. She can't score at this level. She's not physically ready. She's completely overrated. College basketball was a joke. All of it perfectly ignoring the reality that she was playing on one good leg the whole time. Let me make something absolutely clear. I'm not creating excuses for Caitlin Clark. She doesn't need any. What I'm doing is calling out everyone who rushed to bury her, everyone who labeled her a failure, everyone who treated her struggles like evidence that she didn't belong, because this footage destroys all of that, and it should make everyone who wrote her off feel completely foolish right now. Check out how she connects with Aliyah Boston, the instant chemistry, the mutual understanding that dribble handoff sequence flows perfectly because they both know exactly what's coming next. Boston creates the angle flawlessly. Clark attacks the opening with conviction, and immediately the defense is in complete chaos. That's what happens when Caitlin Clark is operating at full capacity. The entire game revolves around her. Scoring chances materialize out of nowhere, and every teammate becomes more effective. The Fever absolutely must have this version of her back. Because honestly, last season was painful to watch. They fell short of expectations. The roster construction was questionable. The offensive system never really came together. And while there were countless contributing factors, the most obvious one was staring everyone in the face. Their franchise player wasn't actually herself. But here's the complicated part. Does she have faith in the Fever to protect her going forward? Does she believe they'll manage her minutes correctly? Will they put her health before winning games? Because looking at what happened last season, I wouldn't blame her for having major concerns. Now you've got Paige Bueckers discussing this 2020 class representing, together, the rising generation. This core group that's developing through USA Basketball as a unit. Bickers, Clark, Cameron Brink, Angel Reese, all of them creating connections at the international level while managing their professional situations. And honestly, that might be exactly where Clark discovers what she's been missing. An environment that truly appreciates her value. Coaching that knows how to maximize her talents. Teammates who enhance her game instead of making it harder. Listen to how she discusses USA basketball. The process. Getting cut. Previously. Making rosters. The emotional roller coaster. There's genuine respect there. Real gratitude for what it means to represent this country. And maybe, just maybe, that atmosphere is precisely what she needs to fully rediscover herself. Because with Team USA, nobody's demanding she be the savior. Nobody's placing the entire organization on her back. She can simply be an elite player surrounded by other elite players, and sometimes that's exactly what someone needs after carrying an impossible load for too long. But let's be realistic here. When she returns to the WNBA, back to the Fever, back to being Caitlin Clark, the cornerstone franchise player, all those demands come rushing back. All those expectations flood right back in. And the real question is whether the Fever absorbed any lessons from last season. Did they realize that grinding their star into dust doesn't work? Did they understand that preserving her health matters more than any individual victory? Did they figure out that maybe, just maybe, they need to construct a superior system around her instead of expecting her to fix a broken situation through pure willpower alone? I'm not optimistic about that. Watch this step back three from day one practice. The space creation, the perfect balance, the complete confidence. That's the shot that made her a household name. That's the shot that revolutionized college basketball. And for an entire WNBA season, we barely glimpsed it because she couldn't fickly perform it the way it demands to be performed. And you know what's truly devastating about this? She still managed to be effective, even injured, even limited, even operating at maybe half of her actual potential. She was still among the more impactful players in the league. Think about what happens when she's genuinely healthy. That's what should terrify everyone. Not because she's going to take over completely, although she will, but because we nearly lost this opportunity. We almost watched injuries and poor management steal our chance to witness what she's truly capable of achieving. And for what purpose? A handful of meaningless regular season victories that changed nothing. Sue Bird mentioned that Clark would need time to rebuild her conditioning, that it wouldn't be instantaneous. And she was absolutely right. But here's what Bird left unsaid. She didn't clarify whether the conditioning problems were just typical off-season decline, or whether they were the lasting consequences of competing hurt for 6 straight months. There's a massive difference there, and it's crucial, because if this is just Clark getting back in game shape after a normal break, fine, that's controllable, that's predictable. But if this is Clark recovering from the accumulated trauma of a season spent sacrificing her body, then we need to have a much more serious discussion about how the WNBA manages player wellness, especially for superstars. Especially for athletes the league desperately depends on to succeed. Let's zoom out and look at the bigger situation for a moment. The WNBA is expanding. Television numbers are climbing. Attention is building. Fresh audiences are discovering the sport. And a huge portion of that expansion connects directly to Caitlin Clark. Her college dominance brought unmatched visibility to women's basketball. Her rookie season, despite all the Olympic drama, maintained focus on the league. But what happens if they destroy her? What happens if the injuries keep accumulating? What happens if she's forced to choose between her body and her career before she even reaches her peak? The league suffers. The sport suffers. And all that momentum disappears completely. So seeing this Team USA footage should feel encouraging. She looks strong. She looks quick. She looks like herself again. But it should also make you furious, because this is what we should have been watching from the beginning. This is what the Fever should have been protecting. This is what the league should have been preserving. Instead, we got a perfect example of what happens when organizations fail their most important players. Look at her running that screen action with Angel Reese, two of the most discussed athletes in basketball right now, developing chemistry on the national stage. The all-star game interaction between them was significant. The possibility of them collaborating internationally is enormous. And yes, I know some people can't handle them being teammates without making it strange, But that's childish. Great players competing together elevates the entire sport. End of discussion. Cameron Brink is in the mix too. Another piece of this incredible draft class. Another player managing her own injury struggles. Another talent the league needs to learn how to protect while utilizing effectively. The pattern couldn't be clearer. Young stars join the league. The expectations are crushing. The physical toll is severe, and the support infrastructure isn't quite ready yet. Something fundamental has to shift. When Clark discusses never taking USA basketball for granted, you can feel it in her tone. The appreciation, the recognition of how rare this chance is. And maybe that mindset is exactly what she needed after the chaos of her first professional seasons. A reminder that basketball can still bring joy, that it doesn't always have to involve carrying impossible burdens, that sometimes you can just play the game you love. But don't get confused. When next season begins, when the spotlight returns, when the Fever start their first game, all of that pressure comes flooding back. The doubts return, the microscope returns, and Caitlin Clark will be right back in the middle of it all, trying to prove she belongs while everyone searches for any hint of vulnerability. The difference is, now we understand what she looks like when healthy. Now we have proof. Now we can distinguish between what she actually is versus what we witnessed during a compromised season. And anyone still questioning her after seeing this footage is either dishonest or clueless. Probably both. Here's my prediction that might sound crazy. Caitlin Clark's second season will be the most significant season in WNBA history. Not just for her individual career, though obviously that matters enormously, but for what it symbolizes.
Can the league safeguard its biggest stars?
Can franchises create sustainable winning cultures around generational talents? Can the sport manage growth without destroying the people creating that growth? If the answer is yes, the WNBA's future looks incredibly promising. If the answer is no, we're about to witness too many talented careers get ruined by completely preventable mistakes. And I really hope it's the first option, because watching Caitlin Clark play basketball when she's operating at full strength is appointment television. It's unmissable. It's the kind of ability that reaches beyond the sport and attracts casual viewers who don't usually follow women's basketball. The league simply cannot afford to waste that opportunity. So yes, she looks explosive in Team USA practice. She looks confident. She looks like the player we all expected her to become. And that's simultaneously the greatest possible news and a crushing indictment of everything that went wrong last season. You can't claim both things. Either she was always capable of this level and something prevented it, or she genuinely struggled and somehow solved everything in a couple months. I know which explanation makes more sense. The question, moving forward, is what comes next. Will the Fever make adjustments? Will they construct a better roster around her? Will they use load management? Will they develop a system that actually highlights her strengths instead of exposing her limitations? Or will we repeat this exact same experiment and expect different outcomes? Because if it's that second option, we already know how this story ends. And it's not going to be pretty. Jackie Young fighting for that rebound represents everything Caitlin Clark needs surrounding her. Smart players, fierce competitors, athletes who understand that winning isn't about personal statistics. Young just captured a championship with the Aces. She knows what excellence requires. Combining her with Clark, with Boston, with the right supporting pieces. That's how you build something lasting. But the Fever need to solve this quickly, because Clark won't wait around forever. And if the situation doesn't get better, if the injuries keep mounting, if the losing streak continues, eventually she'll have choices. Free agency is real. Player movement happens, and nobody stays somewhere that's actively damaging them indefinitely. Not even the most dedicated superstars. So when you see this Team USA footage, don't just think about a player getting back in shape. Think about a warning sign. Think about a reminder of what's on the line. Think about evidence of what's possible when everything clicks versus what happens when it falls apart. The WNBA has a Caitlin Clark situation, not because she's not talented enough, but because they might not be worthy of her talent. And that's an issue with enormous consequences for the league's future. She's back. She's healthy. She's prepared. The question is whether everyone else is ready to do whatever it takes to keep her in that condition. because we've all seen what happens when they fail at that. And nobody should want to experience that disaster again. Not the fans, not the league, and absolutely not Caitlin Clark. Welcome to the most critical offseason in WNBA history. Let's hope they don't mess this up.